self-proclaimed king, a groper in chief, stealing our country, a crooked orange thief. faithful patriots who are poorly educated, wearing red hats and also unvaccinated. Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, the animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. A failing media that's barely treading water. They're too inept to fight this new world order. Corporate pigs are at the trough, hear the squeals. The swine won't bite the hands that feeds them meals. But Liberal Dan will see us flow. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. A leftist voice on air, exposing MAGA treason, breaking through their lies with facts, logic, and reason. Unmasking hypocrisy, the truth will be our guide. Call out their lies, justice is on our side. 'Cause Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right.
And welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. This is your host, Dan Zimmerman, coming at you live from New Orleans, Louisiana, to join the conversation. We will probably open up the phone lines in a little bit, but you can leave your comments over at the Twitch thread, Twitch chat, at twitch.liberaldanradio.com, or here on liberaldanradio.com, which is the YouTube channel. To support the show, you can, I've shared the link to the show merchandise page, which currently has 2 shirts, working on a couple more, including the Al Gore Needs More Rhythm shirt, because in order to help the show best, you can like, share, comment, subscribe, interact with other people who comment on the videos, etc., because that helps the algorithm, and as we all know, Al Gore needs more rhythm. You could also subscribe over on Twitch for free if you have Amazon Prime. Otherwise, it's a regular price subscription. You can become a member here. You can gift subscriptions and memberships as well. Bits over on Twitch, super chat, super stickers here on YouTube. You can do all of that as well. You can Venmo Liberal Dan, buy me a cider. Go to liberaldan.com, click the buy me a cider button, or go to buymecoffee.com/liberaldanradio. You can become a Liberal Dan Radio patron by patreon.com/liberaldan or patreon.liberaldan.com. Both ways get you there too. But again, the most important thing to do is to get the interaction up, get the algorithms singing, hit those hearts and everything to get people into the chat, because the more people see, the more people comment, the more people see comments, the more the algorithm sees comments, the more they're going to send other people and recommend the show. And we need to have more viewers to spread the word, because I think we all here at liberaldanradio.com, including y'all, the people who view me every week, are doing a great job here. Y'all are a vital cog to the show, and you bring lots of great points, and we really need to, spread those messages far and wide. So anyway, especially these days, because these days it's becoming more and more vital. We got our Villaby and Aaron over in the Twitch chat. We got Aaron, Jeff from just north of Uranus, Krista, Scarlet Succubus, good to see you. Steve from across the pond.
It's no Scottish, it's crap.
We've got Jackie, Jojo Mojo Jojo, Tim, Jackie CR, Suzanne. Who else? We got a bunch of the J Squad here already. The Goddess Kimchi is in the chat. Good to see you, Kimchi. And I think we got... I think I said hello everybody to so far who at least has said hello so far as well. Yes, please remember to smash that like button and then smash the patriarchy as well. One of the things that I was reminded of when I was making one of my TikTok videos today was the fact that Charlie Kirk used to also go on the Whatever podcast, which is, you know, one of the many or several podcasts that I react to in my Unraveling Toxic Masculinity series. And one of the things I basically pointed out is that, you know, look, we need to point out, all of the things that are going on wrong in this country. And one of the ways that Governor Newsom talked about, he's brought this up today, is that we need to take lessons from Charlie Kirk. Now, let's, as I said over in my TikTok video, and I might upload that video up here later on today or tomorrow morning, whatever, as well. But let's put a pin in the idea of taking his advice or learning from what Charlie Kirk did, because as we went over in the previous shows, the things that Charlie Kirk said and did were abhorrent to me. Like, we reject them. And so I don't know how much lessons we can learn via his tactics. But the fact that he was able to reach a broad audience is something that, we need to pay attention to and something that we need to counter. And because Governor Newsom was basically saying that we need to be able to have that outreach, to be able to reach out to young people, especially to, young men, young college-age men. Turning Point USA even went into high schools. We need to be able to reach out to those people and be able to not just spread them the messages to why we believe we're on the right side of history, but also why they're on the wrong side of history, i.e. they being the conservatives, they being the Charlie Kirk types, they being the Steven Crowder types, they being the whatever podcast, Fresh and Fit types, the people that we respond to in the Unraveling Toxic Masculinity series that we do. And my issue with what Gavin Newsom said, beyond the whole learning a lesson or whatever, however he worded it from Charlie Kirk, is that, is it all talk? Is he just saying this because he's trying to, throw a little bit of an olive branch toward the, here's what Charlie Kirk did right? Because we could go over whether or not what he did over there was right or not, but we're not going to deal with that right now. But the people who are in power, like the elected officials, the big money behind the elected officials, the big money behind media, the people who are trying to support the larger, creators that caused the big stink because of the incubator program or whatever that Taylor Lorenz was talking about, those people are kind of already, entrenched in there, but they're a small group. And the conservatives have a wide, vast army, for lack of a better word, of people who they can call upon if they need, whether or not it's somebody to sub in one day on one of their shows, or, whether or not somebody, has an untimely passing and someone else needs to step up and fill the void. So they have a large, as in using baseball parlance, they have a large farm team. We don't. So we need to do a better job. If we really want to reach the youth, if we really want to reach the young men who are in college, if we really want to reach out to them and explain to them why the messages that they are hearing from the Charlie Kirks of the world, from Steven Crowder, from these, whatever, the manosphere or whatever, we really want to do that, we need to get people who are willing to get in there and talk to them. But the message is not going to be received if they're not supporting a wide base of content creators, be they leftist, be they progressive, be they liberals, as long as they're to the left of center. We need a wide net, a wide group of people who are going to get out there and engage with the people. Because they're not going to listen to us, they're not going to take people seriously if, you only have a certain amount of subscribers, whatever, so why should I take you seriously? Because for some reason, subscriber count matters if whether or not you're right or not, but appeals to popularity, despite being a logical fallacy, tend to also work. So, because, a college campus isn't going to invite somebody like me on a show. They might invite somebody who's larger, but we need more people who are larger, not in physical stature, because I clearly cover that role, but, much less so. But still, if we really want to reach the people that we want to reach, we need a wider array of people who are going to be able to get out there and have conversations with them and talk to them and counter the programming that they're doing. And I'm not just calling it content, I'm calling programming, because literally that's what the conservatives are doing. It's programming. It's giving these people false information to manipulate them into believing that they are correct when they're really not. So anyway, more on that later. Hey, it's Teresa's in the chat. Good to see you, Teresa. Big Hook is also here. Good to see you as well. Let's see, did I miss anybody else whilst I was on my little bit of a rant? Doesn't appear to be, but if I did, I apologize. I guess one of the drawbacks of if I do grow larger and have more of an audience, that I might not be able to say hello to everybody that I want to say hello to, but, M's the breaks, Hal doesn't say hello to me, all the time either, but it's all good because I still support Hal. Because he's a good guy, he's smart, he's intelligent, and, he's one of the reasons why I'm doing as well as I am currently. So Tim, though, did bring up something that I felt, was very important to bring up, because he did bring up the fact that Jimmy Kimmel was canceled. He has been removed from the air indefinitely for the words he said about Charlie Kirk. And let's go over this real quick, because I don't get it. I don't get it. I fully understand the people that are upset about the celebration. Like if Jimmy Kimmel came out there and spiked the football and did a cheer, rah, 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 about the whole thing, I could maybe see that. I could understand that. I might not agree with it. It goes against what Charlie Kirk stood for. Charlie Kirk stood for unfettered free speech. Probably because the stuff that he was saying, in my opinion, and the opinion of many other people, was morally abhorrent. He was saying things that were just, A, tacitly false, and B, just terrible. How Ketanji, as he pronounced it, Brown Jackson, and other black women didn't have the mental capacity to make it in life, which is why they needed affirmative action, and they needed DEI or whatever, which means he doesn't understand DEI or affirmative action. That he wouldn't trust a black pilot because he doesn't understand DEI, believing that DEI means that you're going to lower standards. You're not going to lower standards with DEI. You're just making sure that you have a wider base of people. But even if Charlie Kirk worded it, said, look, because of DEI, I'm not going to trust any pilot that gets on the plane, that would have at least been a little less racist. But it wasn't what he said. He said he wouldn't trust it if a black pilot, because he wouldn't trust specifically a black pilot. Morally abhorrent. Racist. Of course, the people, and again, one of the best memes I've shared, recently in the past couple of days was, if you can't see the racism that Charlie Kirk brought, you're also not going to see your own racism as well. But when I read, I looked it up a couple times, and I've read this several times, and I don't understand why what Jimmy Kimmel said was such a big deal. Opening monologue on a September 15th show, he goes, "We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from it." Where's the lie? Where is the lie in what he just said? Even before the weekend, immediately after Charlie Kirk was murdered. And he said Charlie Kirk was murdered. He didn't say anything else. He factually said that Charlie Kirk was murdered. And even before the weekend, MAGA folks were trying to characterize the murderer as somebody who was a leftist, who was a trans lover, who this, that, the other. As if, the Republicans didn't crash Grindr during the RNC. As if Republican folks don't, fetishize what they hate. Right? So, and the reason that they were trying to frame this person without knowing any information about who the person was because they were trying to score political points from it. And they're continuing to try and score political points in it. Doubling down on the anti-trans rhetoric. Doubling down on all the other rhetoric that they've been trying to use because they can't admit that, he was raised by a Republican family. He was raised by a bunch of people who were into guns. He was raised by a bunch of people, that's what he learned from. And even if he did move left, which, again, I'm still not convinced because of the whole Groyper thing and the whole Nick Fuentes thing, and using terms from that, I'm still not convinced that he was actually moved to the left. He probably still could have moved to the right and just had a thing for this trans person who was transitioning. But clearly they were trying to score points. Why is that fault? Why is that such a negative thing? Why do they have their gigantic panties in a bunch over that particular statement? 250 Kilo says, Jimmy Kimmel should have stuck to safe comments like homeless people shouldn't be involved. You're bearing the lead there, 250 Kilo. We're getting to that in a second. We are getting to that in a second. But yeah, why wasn't Brian Killmeade canceled? Because his comments were terrible. We'll get on that in a second. But I would love, if there's any conservative in the chat. Hey, Bethany, good to see you. If there's any conservative in the chat, I would love to know why that was wrong. Why what he said was incorrect and why what he said was so terrible. Like, I get it. The people seeing the few who are like actively cheering it on, I get why you're upset at that. And I get why if somebody did that on the air, why it piss off some sponsors. But this comment is a nothing burger, which just goes to show you how far these people are willing to go to silence their opposition. And they're going to say, well, didn't they try and silence Charlie Kirk again? Whenever they say, didn't the left try and silence Charlie Kirk, they're still jumping to the conclusion that this guy was a leftist. We still don't know. And even if he did move to the left, it was one guy. There's no evidence that it was anybody else, despite the conspiracy theories over the fact that it was Israel. Because there are people who still believe that it might have been Israel involved. And of course, who was it? Was it not Nancy Grace? It was the other one. The other annoying. I say the other annoying one as if they're not multiple annoying ones or whatever. But, they asked Benjamin Netanyahu, did you have anything to do with it? As if Benjamin Netanyahu was like, well, of course we did. Of course we did that. We couldn't handle him going against saying anti-Israeli things, so we had to off him. Like, of course Netanyahu is not going to say that. Of course he's going to deny it if he was involved, but there's no evidence that he was involved. But conspiracy theorists are going to raise conspiracy theories all the live long day, and they're going to try and come up with this idea that somehow it was Israel involved. But if it was Israel involved, that means it came from the right, not the left. So they can't even keep their conspiracy theories straight. Look back at the birther conspiracy theory. Barack Obama was both born in Kenya, according to them, and lost his citizenship when his family moved him to Indonesia. They can't both be true. If he was not a citizen at birth because he was born in Kenya, then how did he lose his citizenship when he moved to Indonesia? They can't keep their facts straight. They can't keep their arguments straight. They can't keep anything straight, including some of their own. Including, was it Milo, who's now coming out and saying, I'm coming out of retirement. And people are like, oh, Charlie Kirk was the nice one. Milo came out of retirement after Charlie Kirk was murdered. Why? are we really afraid of Milo? I mean, irrelevant at this point, but I mean, I'm sure people are going to jump on the Milo bandwagon now, but he was gay. He claims to be formerly gay. Do I believe him? I don't think you could ever be formerly gay. I mean, maybe he's bi now. Fine, whatever. I'm not judging him for his sexuality. And if he really, was only attracted to the one guy that he married, then fine. That still technically, I guess, makes you bi. But I'm not, again, more power to him if he wants to, whatever. But again, Milo was a conservative who was in a homosexual marriage, homosexual relationship. Completely debunking their whole idea that, well, this guy, because they can't view the murderer as a heterosexual person because he's dating a trans woman. If you're a male who's dating a trans woman, that makes you heterosexual. They can't view it because they insist on misgendering and dead naming people who are trans. So they'll insist that he can't be, they'll call his partner or whatever, a gay, a guy, because they're terrible and they're anti-trans. But so they'll claim that you can't be gay and be a Republican or conservative. And then they cheer Milo, who is a gay conservative. Make it make sense. Anybody who is conservative, please make it make sense. I don't understand. I mean, conservatism tends to not make sense, but still. Unknown Texan says Antifa is now an official terrorist organization. Why? Why is that? Can you be more specific about the annoying ones? I wish I could. I'm just forgetting her name. I'm just forgetting. Greta Van Susteren. That's it. I knew it was going to come to my head eventually. I was waiting for it to come to my head like after the show. Greta Van Susteren was the one, I think, who asked Benjamin Netanyahu. But like, yeah. Chad Bostic, he said one of them, while the media all weekend was saying to the right, why are you saying them instead of the person responsible? Be more specific, Chad, because I'm not quite getting it. Yeah, of course, FCC license threatened, and that's how they handle things. They want to stifle free speech because they're against that. They're against actual free speech. I saw that you commented on top. Let's see if there's anything else from Chad that I missed from that, but I'm not quite seeing, because problem is if you don't directly if you don't quote what I said after responding to it and I have to scroll back up, sometimes I won't understand exactly the comment that you're referring to. So why are they so hung up on people's sexuality? That's just gross. Is because the reason why conservatives are hung up on their sexuality, because there's a whole shit ton of them that are closeted, and they think that they're good Christian people, and therefore they're trying to rebel against their own nature, and they need government to try and help prevent them from doing the things that they intrinsically want to do. Because the RNC, during the RNC again, they crashed Grindr. Kimmel said it was one of them. Democrats all weekend said to the right that it was them fostering hate by them saying they targeted. What? Right. Kimmel said that it was one of the MAGA, one of their own, i.e. it was a conservative. The MAGA folks who were out there trying to convince everybody that this person was on the left. What's the problem there? Like, to me, it's super reaching. It is ridiculous amount of reaching to try and suggest that what Jimmy Kimmel said was wrong. I don't see it. I don't see it. I cannot understand why it's one of them, while the Democrats are saying it's a single person. Right. There's a difference between saying that he was somebody who was conservative or liberal, i.e. the conservatives were trying to convince everybody that he wasn't a conservative, that he wasn't one of them, versus the people who are trying to blame all of liberalism for this one person. That's what you're not seeing, I guess. Trying to blame all of liberalism for the actions of one person is different than trying to say that the one person was on where that one person rested on the political spectrum. Conservatives are trying to say, again, what Jimmy Kimmel was saying, and again, it's not a false statement. conservatives are trying to convince people that he wasn't conservative. Like, that's not liberals. That's not Jimmy Kimmel saying that all of them are murderers. It's Jimmy Kimmel saying that they're trying to convince people. I'm not going to say gaslight, because nobody really knows. To gaslight somebody means you know the truth and you're saying otherwise. We still don't know completely where he rests, what his political opinions are. And again, also, if you're trying to view everything left, right, there's, you go further enough to the left, you get your guns back, right? So, like, there's a lot of times where you not reach around, but if you go, to the right, to the left, where they actually, the anarchists on the left meet the anarchists on the right, and they kind of agree with each other on a bunch of things too. So then you have, people, the political spectrum is not as easy as a single line, so to speak. Not all lefties are murderers, but he definitely went left. He was dead. No, Chad, no, that's wrong. That's absolutely wrong. There are conservatives who date. I wasn't friends with this one person. I've known people who were trans who were conservative. So are you telling me that the person that I knew who was a conservative person who was also trans, that anybody who dated that conservative trans person must have been a leftist or a liberal on the left? It's absurd. It's an absurd notion. Are you going to say, but again, and the right is also saying that he was gay because he was dating a man, as they referred to her, because she's transitioning. If you're a trans woman, you're a her, and the proper pronouns would be she, her. So, but to them, it's not dating. You're still dating a man, so therefore you're gay. There are gay Republicans. There are gay conservatives. You're trying to shove all the Republicans into one box. You're pulling. What you're doing right now, Chad, is the no true Scotsman fallacy. He couldn't have been a conservative. He had to have been on the left because he was doing X. That's a logical fallacy. That's the no true Scotsman fallacy. It's what y'all do when you call somebody a rhino. Oh, they're not really conservatives. They're not really Republicans because they do X, Y, and Z. Despite them being registered Republicans, despite, the politicians who are being called rhinos, agreeing with, the rest of the Republicans like 97% of the time. But 1, 2, 3% of the things that they do, if they agree with Obama or somebody else on the left, you're a rhino now. If you're a Republican who disagrees with Donald Trump, you're now a rhino. The never-Trumpers, the never-Trumper Republicans are rhinos just because they don't like Donald Trump and don't agree with how he's doing his policies. Hell, are the people rhinos who spoke out against Pam Bondi with what she said? Because they stood up to somebody in the Trump administration for saying something that, Republicans and conservatives have been fighting for or fighting against. They've been fighting against so-called hate speech forever. And now she comes out and says she's for hate speech. Oh, so now, Chad, you're saying he's not affiliated. Now he wasn't right or left. Are you now crawfishing, as we would say? You're now backtracking. So no. So Kimmel was right, and Trump hates the whole free speech thing. Of course, he hates the free speech thing. We'll get into that in a second. Chad, be better. You said, not all lefties are murderers, but he definitely went left if he is dating a trans person. That is literally your words that I'm looking at right now on the screen. So you can't then say, I said he is neither left or right, when you literally said a few lines above, he definitely went left if he's dating a trans person. See, Big Hook, Tyler Robinson is apparently refusing to help with the investigation. And why would he? I mean, why would you make it easier? I mean, because they're going for the death penalty. If you know they're going for the death penalty, why are you going to make it easier? Only reason that he would make it easier, the only way it would make sense for him to make it easier on them is to say, look, I will confess to everything if the death penalty is off the table. And I would also make sure that that's true for both state and federal charges, because federal charges haven't been filed yet. Because one of the biggest mistakes that people make is that they'll make a deal under state rules, and then the feds come in and charge and be like, well, you just admitted to the state, but you didn't make a deal with us, so therefore we're coming in. Ha ha. Fooled you. Steve Ward, no corporation is going to risk planes full of people on a DEI hire. I mean, but a DEI hire is just a nonsensical thing. DEI just means you're trying to get people who are well qualified, who are not, you know, basically straight white men, because that's what the people on the right want. They only want to see straight white men. And if you hire somebody other than a straight white man, you're somehow a DEI hire, even though technically I would say that DEI hires were, like, for example, for the Supreme Court, all of the, you know, white people who got appointed to the Supreme Court, that's your DEI. That's your, you know, hiring people just, you know, just because they're a certain race, right? Chad goes, okay, Kim, she tell you what, how about I won't say shit about this again until the facts come out. Just remember we had this conversation. But again, but you say he went left, you meant it's ideology, but what's the difference between left? He went left, but then you're saying he's not on the left. Like, you're saying he moved left but remained conservative? Is that what you're trying to say? Like, he's still a conservative but moved leftward some? Because, I mean, if he was a Nick Fuentes person, I would say he moved right to the some on some areas. Because, again, it's hard to judge people. Like, what do you call somebody who is pro-choice, pro-Second Amendment? Are they left or right? If you're a member of a militia but you support abortions, if you, you know, support gay marriage but you hate Muslims, like, what do you want? Chad, that's like saying right-wingers don't like progressive rock. I know a lot of right-wingers who probably love Rush, so even though they probably listen to the song The Trees and have no idea and don't even understand the point that's being made there, right? So I understand that you're an independent that votes for Democrats or Republicans. I understand that. And it's good that you understand that not everything is black and white, but still. Pick up, again, Chad Watt is grinder crash when there was a Republican conference. Exactly. 250 kilo ohm over on Twitch. The angry rant Stephen Miller made, if you speak ill of Charlie Kirk, we will come after you, your property, your money. What law allows nullified and penalized First Amendment rights? None. I mean, look, the First Amendment does not prohibit you to have, you know, issues or people, you know, it doesn't mean your speech is protected from people criticizing that speech. It also doesn't mean your speech doesn't have consequences. And if you are working someplace that has some sort of morality clause or some sort of clause that would prohibit you from speaking out on such things, and you do, then you're risking your job by doing that. And if somebody reports you to your job like a frickin' Karen, then by saying those things publicly, you're risking your job. I mean, it is what it is. Oh, sorry, that's Trump's line. Hold on.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. I need to fix that one because it only comes on one ear. Anyway, so hey, wait, it's Impeccable Living. I can't believe I didn't see Impeccable Living come in.
Oh my!
Welcome to the chat, Impeccable Living. Welcome. Thank you for taking a break from doing your gay stuff, doing gay shit, is it what you say? Anyway. You could still move miles left of Trump and still be centrist. Very much so. I mean, that's one of the main points I make on the show all the time, is that, you know, when the reason why conservatives, MAGA folks, call Biden a socialist is because they are so far to the right, they can't perceive the difference between somebody on the center left and somebody who is an actual socialist. So, let me take a drink before we actually start recording one of the things that we're going to talk about tonight. Anyway, let's get this all prepared first. Need to go. Oh, it's the other thing. That's right.
What was the whole point of Biden partying?
There's free speech.
Hold on. There we go. All right. So, back to Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi. Remember Pam Bondi, who said,
no one is above the law in this country.
but of course, you know, except for all the people who, raided the Capitol on January 6th. They're above the law because they got pardoned for assaulting police officers. But Pam Bondi talking about, the people who on the left or whatever who were making their comments about Charlie Kirk said this.
There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you, if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle. There's free speech and then there's hate speech.
Conservatism hates hate speech. They hate it. They hate the idea of hate speech. The words hate speech. Conservatives hate it. But now she embraced it fully. Hell, even old Donald Trump got on the bandwagon as it pertains to what Pam Bondi said with some insane drivel.
And what do you make Pam Bondi saying she's going to go after hate speech? Is that, a lot of your allies say hate speech is free speech.
Should probably go after people like you because you treat me so unfairly. It's hate. You have a lot of hate.
We'll go after people like you. They treat you unfairly. Will treat me unfairly. Blah blah blah.
In your heart. Maybe they'll come after ABC. Well, ABC paid me $16 million recently for a form of hate speech. Right?
A form of hate speech. They settled because they didn't want their, license shut down because they gave into your bullying. But
your company paid me $16 million for a form of hate speech. So maybe they'll have to go after you. Look.
That's weird. This right here. Wait. Hold on. Let me bring this down because that's very interesting. This is happening. This happened to Steamboat Jack too. I don't understand what's going on with this, but let's bring this down. Deep fake detected. Where's the deep fake? Is this not really Donald Trump? Have we determined that did Donald Trump really pass away? And this is not really Donald Trump. This is a deep fake. Breaking news here on Liberal Dan Radio. This is apparently a deep fake of Donald Trump, right? I guess McAfee isn't quite very good at determining whether something is a deep fake or not. But, again, yeah, Donald Trump doubled down on the whole hate speech thing because he's going to, he loves the fact that his attorney general is going to go after people who are going to, who are going to talk about, badly about him and his friends and yada, yada, yada. So, Pam Bondi backtracks. Hate speech that crosses the line into threats of violence is not protected by the First Amendment. So it's not just speech now. It's hate speech that crosses the line into threats of violence. It is a crime for far too long. We've watched the radical left normalize threats, blah, 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 call for assassinations, blah, blah, blah. Of course, the right wing, as we determined on last show, as we showed last show, with many a chart, that it's the right wing that's responsible for most political violence in this country. Not the left, but they're going to gaslight you. They're going to lie to you. They're going to make you think that it's the left in order to justify further actions that they take against people on the left. She lists under 18 new title code or whatever. It's a federal crime to transmit, specifically, to transmit any communication containing any threat to kidnap any person or any threat to injure a person of the person of another. Likewise, makes it a felony threatened to public officials, Congress, and their families. You cannot call for somebody's murder. You cannot swat a member of Congress. You cannot dox a conservative family and think it will be brushed off as free speech. These acts are punishable crimes, and every single threat will be met with the full force of the law. Free speech protects ideas, debate, even dissent, but does not and ever protect violence. It is clear that violent rhetoric designed to silence others from voicing conservative ideals. Well, the violent rhetoric is actually being used to try and silence us. There was somebody who commented on one of my videos that basically said, why do you keep talking? They're going to round y'all up. That's a threat, right? That's a threat that they're going to round us up. They want to silence us with the threats that they're going to arrest us. That's what she did herself, using the threat of the force of government to put people in handcuffs who use hate speech. And of course, she had to backtrack that when lots of other conservatives. But notice the key words again. Specifically, you cannot call for someone's murder. You cannot call for someone's murder. That's what she says. So why is Pam Bondi not going after Fox News anchor Brian Killmeade? He apologized on Sunday for suggesting last week that mentally ill homeless people should be killed by involuntary lethal injection. He believes that people who are, just because one person who I guess was homeless murdered the person on the train, that now we should be killing homeless people. Mentally ill homeless people should be killed involuntarily by lethal injection. And why is she not now arresting Brian Killmeade? According to her own tweet, according to her own words, Brian Killmeade said something that calls for acts of violence, that calls for the death of homeless people. In Minneapolis, Minnesota, 13 people hurt in 2 mass shootings in Minneapolis homeless encampments on the same day after Brian Killmeade said his words. At least 13 people have been wounded, 5 critically, in 2 shootings that erupted over a span of 12 hours at homeless encampments in Minneapolis. The city's mayor saying he wouldn't be surprised if they are connected. The shootings on Monday, which is the day after he apologized, marked the 4th and 5th mass shootings to occur in Minneapolis the past 3 weeks. This is tragic. It's horrible. It's unacceptable. Sadly, it's not surprising. Jacob Frey says. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara said the city's latest mass shooting unfolded Monday night at a notorious homeless encampment in southeast Minneapolis, in which 8 people were shot and an estimated 30 shots were fired. Here we are yet again in an aftermath of mass shooting. Is it a coincidence? Is it a coincidence that Brian Killmeade's words took place before these shootings? Did the people who took these actions, were they people who were inspired by the words of Brian Killmeade? Did he incite them to violence? In Mississippi, Corey Zukatis, 36 years old, of Brandon, Mississippi, was found after a different person was lynched near a casino, hanging. Did somebody in Mississippi listen to Brian Killmeade's words and say, "Hey, we should take the action. I'm gonna take Brian Killmeade's words as a call to action"? Is Corey Zukatis now dead because of the words of Brian Killmeade that said that people should be murdered if they're homeless? Because what is the technical words he said was mentally ill homeless people. Well, how do you know if somebody's mentally ill or not if you're not a psychologist, not a psychiatrist, if you don't have the education to be able to determine whether or not somebody's mentally ill or not? They might just assume that somebody's acting strangely or weirdly, might just very well be somebody who's mentally ill, and then take it upon themselves to take action. The action that Brian Killmeade specifically called for. The action that Brian Killmeade, said that, mentally ill people should be killed by involuntary lethal injection, i.e. they should be involuntarily killed, i.e. they should be murdered. Oh, somebody would be like, oh, he didn't say murdered, so you can't. Fact checkers would be like, he didn't say murdered. Well, what would involuntarily killing somebody be without due process? Murder. That would be murder. Of course, the fact checkers are dumb, and they'll continue to do their dumb things. But again, Pat Bondi says you cannot call for someone's murder. So, in my opinion, Pat Bondi and the feds, Department of Justice, should be arresting, at least looking into Brian Killmeade for questioning for these deaths, because he could very well be shown to have incited the shootings and the deaths of these homeless people that we just talked about. Right? Trump is literally deepfake, yes. To not love our dear leader is considered hate, exactly. Vidi Hertz, good to see you. Trump administration is a bad ad campaign. Well, yeah. Let's see. Trump absolutely encouraged violence as well. Vidi Hertz says the end is near. I feel it. Sorry, Trump is going to start massive trade deals with Russia. MJ Daniels hurting her feelings doesn't count. All this only shows weakness. I prefer to call him Dinky. UK allowing Trump now, which is Chamberlain trusting Hitler. Could call it, which is weird because I've been calling Trump Neville Chamberlain for trusting Putin. Trumpy being all Taliban Kim Jong-un style. I mean, he did invite the Taliban to U.S. soil. Had Joe done it, they'd all recoil. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Sorry. Mary Trump channel says we should mail him washed potatoes in the box. Nice. Let's see. I scroll down too far. Pam Bondi, for as little as $50,000, you can be convinced to drop a Florida prosecution of Trump University and protect Epstein too, right? Because the whole Epstein happened when she was AG of Florida. You know, Pam Bondi has made a career of, apparently, from my opinion at least, of protecting Jeffrey Epstein, protecting pedophiles. Killmeade and Waters both incited virus, 2 Mississippi hangings, coincidence. Well, we're going to get to the second one in a second as well. Yeah, Minnesota homeless camera shooting happened after the Killmeade comments. Yes, that's what I said. Let's see. I knew a wonderful man when my family was homeless who always helped me up the hill with my groceries. He was found floating in the bay. Murder was never solved. No one cared. That is a damn shame. Impeccable living. How did I miss the news about the latest mass shooting in Minneapolis? I haven't slept in almost 24 hours. I'm a mess. How did you miss it? I have theories.
Oh my.
Anyway. 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 Yeah, I need to get another cough drop before we do another recording of stuff. It's really hot in this room. The problem with this room is that I can't necessarily put a fan on. If I put a fan on, it's going to blow on the mic and you'll hear it. If I make it too, if I lower the temperature too much, it gets too cold in the rest of the house. Otherwise it just gets really hot in this house, really hot in this room. Susie, are we going to cover Kimmel? I already did. Rewind. Go back to the beginning. I covered Kimmel. I had a big rant about Kimmel. Hey, Dawn. Good to see you. Thank you. And it's fine that you showed up late. It's fine. Was it only 5 that were shot in Pennsylvania? I didn't have enough information really to talk about the Pennsylvania cops being shot yet because I saw it shortly before I started preparing for the show. So. Krista, when you're homeless, you don't report crimes because that would expose you and you get kicked out of your camping spot. Yeah, that's what I've heard too, and I will, obviously defer to your knowledge of the subject. But yeah. So besides the unhoused person who was found hanging by a casino by Vicksburg police are investigating the death of Corey Zukatis. There was somebody else who was also found hanging from a tree. Demartravion, or Trey Reed, 21 years old of Grenada, was found early in the day on the DSU campus in Cleveland. Police initially ruled the death a suicide. According to CNN, Mississippi University student found hanged on campus with no signs of foul play. I would think that him being hung to whatever, I guess a tree, but family raises questions. Well, of course the family is raising questions because Mississippi has a history of hanging black men from trees. The death of a black student found hanged at Delta State University in Mississippi this week is raising questions, and the university's police chief hopes to have some answers by the end of the week. We ask for continuing patience and compassion as this investigation proceeds. Patience? Y'all came out and said it was a suicide. They're not going to be patient if you jump to conclusions and say it's a suicide. Body of Trey Reed, 21, was found in the morning hanging from a tree near the university's pickleball courts. An autopsy is being performed at the Mississippi State Crime Laboratory. Peeler said preliminary results should be available later this week. Then why are you saying it was a suicide if you don't have even the preliminary reports yet? Investigators say so far they have found no signs of foul play. No signs of foul play? It's a black man in Mississippi hung in a tree. What more signs of foul play do you need? Could it be possible that he hung himself from the tree? I guess I will say possible. I'm not going to say probable or plausible, though, because it's freaking Mississippi. And again, this is also something that took place after Charlie Kirk was murdered. After you had some right-wing creators, be they small or large, calling for acts of violence to be done against people on the left. And there are people who just will assume that, well, I mean, because 90% of them are, 90% of black people are, left-wing, Democrat-leaning folks. So they probably like, oh, well, here's somebody who's probably happy. Maybe this could be a potential hypothetical scenario that you can't rule out. Here's a possible individual who might have been happy that Charlie Kirk, was murdered, and therefore we're going to get our revenge. Good old boy style. Mississippi style. Remember, Ronald Reagan, he came to, Mississippi, Philadelphia, Mississippi, after he won the Republican convention and brought up the myth of states' rights. When talking about, trying to attract the Southern conservatives who were mad at the Democrats, even though there's no such thing as states' rights, but still, that's the site of the murder of 3 civil rights workers. Mississippi loves hanging people. I'm not sure if all 3 of them or any of them were hung or whatever, but still, they injustice is something that Mississippi loves. Based on preliminary examination, we can confirm that the deceased does not suffer any lacerations, contusions, compound fractures, broken bones, or injuries consistent with an assault. What if he was, they used chloroform? What if they used some other way to drug him so that you didn't have to use violence to subdue him, but then you could just string him up to a tree? I guess these cops in Mississippi can't possibly fathom such a possibility, and they're going to come out and call it a suicide with a black man swinging from a damn tree. Peeler added they are looking at visual evidence in the case. There are videos, and they are in the hands of the investigative team. So why not wait to say what it was and what you think it might be until after you look at all the evidence? Huh? Right? The family seeks transparency. Delta's state president Dan Ennis asked for calm as the investigation continues. He understands why people want immediate answers. Look, I don't necessarily want immediate answers. I want the answers to come I want the scientific people, the scientists, the examiners, the people whose job it is to professionally look at what happened and make a determination. I want them to look at the data and say, hey, this is what happened. I don't want police officers to be like, it was a suicide and just brush it off. But, that is what happens in Mississippi to this day, apparently. We recognize this is not only about facts, it's about emotions, it's about feelings, it's the way this loss is and how it's discovered and how it affects people's lives. Yes. Because when they hung black people to trees, that was actually a hate crime. Because it wasn't just done to attack the black person who they hung from the tree. It was done as a terrorist attack against the black community to say, look, here's a black person hanging from a tree. Y'all better be scared now. You hear? That's why they do such things. When you burn a cross on somebody's lawn, it's not just to terrorize the individual family who lives there. It's to terrorize the entire neighborhood and everybody else who might see or hear about the fact that they burned a cross on a black person's lawn. Because it's an act of terrorism. Why should we suddenly magically believe that Mississippi is not a place where this thing happens? Family members of Reed retained civil rights attorney Ben Crump. His office announced Tuesday, we cannot accept vague conclusions when so many questions remain, he says. I stand with his family. I will lead a team of civil rights leaders and organizations in pursuing transparency and answers for Trey's family. Delta State is in Cleveland, a northwestern Mississippi town, 150 miles from Memphis, Tennessee. Its enrollment was 2,624 students, 43% of whom were black. Figures for this academic year have not been released since the news of Reed's death. Innes said the campus has increased law enforcement presence to respond to threats. Case has disturbing historical context. Well, no shit, huh, CNN? Ennis, who is white, says he understands why the circumstances of Reed's death are especially troubling to many students. I admit I am not adequate to speak to the imagery of this incident. What do you mean you're not adequate? I'm sitting here as a white guy, fully understanding the history of this country, the history specifically of Mississippi, and the harm that can be done when you hang a black person from a tree. Like, nobody should need to be told this at this point. Everybody should intrinsically know the racist history of our country. Of course, I guess we shouldn't now because we have Donald Trump and other people, other conservatives who are trying to whitewash our history. They just removed a picture of a whipped slave, with scars marking on his back. They removed that and other things from museums now because we don't want to see that sort of thing, right? We can't learn about the truth about how terrible we treated black people in this country. Why? Because they want us to repeat it? Because history forgotten repeats itself, right? Cleveland Police Department is now the lead agency in charge of the investigation. The Mississippi Bureau of Investigation is assisting. Family members said Tuesday that Reed was excited about his future. They saw no signs of concern when we went back to Delta State University. He was a fun-loving person, and our question is what happened. Call for more intensive investigation was echoed by members of Congress. Bernie Thompson, a Democratic representative, said we must leave no stone unturned. While the details of this case are emerging, we cannot ignore Mississippi's painful history of lynching and racial violence against African Americans. Right, I had not read that sentence until just now. But I did not need to be told that we should not forget Mississippi's history of lynchings and violence against African Americans. We just can't. And it's stupid to not. And it's stupid for the police officers to come and say, oh, this is a suicide, when they don't have all the evidence. I mean, how stupid is that? I mean, that could potentially ruin your case. If, they arrest somebody for it. If they find somebody that was in trouble, but the police originally said it was a suicide, so doesn't that muddy the water now for the jury? But I guess a lot of times in the past, Mississippi police did have a history of wanting to muddy the water of anybody charged with racial crimes because they supported them. Because, as Rage Against the Machine said, some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. And for some stupid reason, the conservatives who just love screaming, fuck you, I don't do what you tell me, didn't understand that Rage Against the Machine was talking about racist Klanspeople working for the police force. Decade ago, federal agents investigated the death of Otis Byrd, a 54-year-old black man found hanging from a tree in Claiborne County, Mississippi. Justice Department closed the case in 2015 after determining there was no evidence to prove that Bird's death was a homicide. Reed's remains were discovered only hours before another Mississippi resident was found 100 miles away. Now, I don't believe that they're connected. Probably not. I mean, whatever. But because Zukatis was a 35-year-old white man, I think that might be connected to Killmeade's thing. And I don't even know if this thing, as I posited before, that was it somebody who was mad at, the left being, celebrating of, Charlie Kirk's murder and as such wanted to prove a point or whatever. I don't know. That's just a random thought that entered my head because of all the people that I saw on social media threatening people on the left for daring to, cheer or whatever when most people were not cheering. They were just talking about their disagreements with Charlie Kirk's policies, especially when people were venerating Charlie Kirk as, some sort of saint when he wasn't. But for the Mississippi police, these police officers to call it a suicide before seeing all the evidence is just blatant malfeasance. And there should be investigations as to who decided that it was okay to say that, especially, again, with the racist history of Mississippi and how they've treated black people for the history of Mississippi. Anyway. Excuse me. Scroll back to see what we might have missed. Nothing new on Twitch, at least. It is really hot. Let me make a text message real quick, or let me just do it, Alexa. I'll mute myself so it doesn't cause yours to go off. All right, I'm back. So, wonder if they're gonna Alexa back. Oh, there you go. I have cool air blowing on me now. Yay! All right. So I didn't miss too very much. Impeccable Living. The story made you cry. The one about the lynching. So Andrea's trying to protect you. Certain comments on YouTube can get on a permanent ban list. Even I get warnings from Andrea. I appreciate the warning, as I don't want my speech ended. Fair enough. I didn't have enough to get John's book. I even didn't have enough to eat this month. I'm very sorry, Susie. Wish we could help you. Wish, I mean, there's got to be, there. You know, we like to come together, whatever. Let's see. In Mississippi, it's considered an act of God if there isn't, and when there is a burning cross at the site of a lynching. There you go. Remember Karen Reed, examiners can be pressured to change the cause of death, of course. Suzanne, I guess I am a victim survivor because of the Epstein crap. Well, that's one of the reasons. I was talking to somebody the other day because, you know, on the show, on this show, I talked about how, you know, I was eventually felt free to talk about the fact that I was abused as a kid. And so to see people trying to cover up and hide sex crimes against minors is upsetting to me, even though for a longest time I had imposter syndrome because what happened to me wasn't as bad as what happened to other people. And as such, I wasn't, you know, and I put an end to it myself. As such, I must not be as harmed as some of the other people were. Clearly, there's evidence to show otherwise now, and after learning more stuff. Emma J. Daniel says, USA is as bad as it ever been. Yep. Let's see. Trumpy crimes building up. Yeah. So, like you, I see very few cars at Tesla charges and very few Teslas, yet the stock is soaring. Nothing makes sense. I think I saw Chad say something about the fact that Tesla makes other things like batteries or something. Musk said he was just considering getting out of the car business. I mean, what other grift is he going to do? One Vision, did I miss a news clip? Some crazy crap go down to Mississippi? No, you didn't miss I don't think you missed a news clip. It's just not many people are. Oh, sorry. Oh. I inadvertently hit my thing and started talking. Trump started talking again. You didn't miss a news clip. It's just that the news missed a news clip. People are not talking about this because they're too busy talking about Charlie Kirk's murder. Because the murder of a white conservative is going to get more play over the murder of a black man and a black student. Especially when the police come forward and say, it wasn't a murder, it wasn't a lynching, it was a suicide. And look, if it comes out that he really did, if there's evidence that he actually did commit suicide, fine. I'll say that on the show. I'll say, look, I assumed because of Mississippi's history of racial injustice, of lynchings, of black men hanging from trees, I was not likely to believe the fact that, you know, believe an idea that it was just a suicide. But I'll correct the record on my show if it's actually shown to have just simply been that. But until it's shown to simply been that, Mississippi doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt. Simple as that. Let's see. Susie, I felt all kiffed all day, crying and sleeping. I'm sorry. Cracker Barrel crashed to 45 today. It was 62 when Trump demanded it go back to its old logo. Well, you know, no one likes a wuss, right? Suzanne, I love you guys. Thank you for being a friend of mine. You've got a friend in us. Right? Oh, I'm sorry. What else? Susan Jones. Aaron, actually, I'll do it. Nope, that's not the right thing to press. For some reason, I can't pin that. Or replace pin message. There you go. I'm going to put Susie's Susan-Jones 7140 is Susie's Venmo. So if anybody wants to help contribute to Susie, her Venmo account is now pinned to the top of the chat for right now. So anybody wants to help, please help. Remember to send friends and family so she doesn't eat the fees. Look, I understand what it means to be struggling. It's tough. I've had to ask my parents, my dad, for help, like almost every month recently because the whole my mother-in-law's house thing. So, Chad goes, you used opposite logic in Mississippi case versus Kirk. You said obviously it's a hanging because it's Mississippi. It's not obvious that the assassin was going to left and he was dating a man. I don't know anything about this individual, Chad. The individual, I don't know anything about who caused that as well. But I don't know anything about the individual who murdered Charlie Kirk. Therefore, I can't say whether or not he's right or left. But in Mississippi, when a black man is hanging from a tree, if that doesn't raise your eyebrow and cause you to have much suspicion over what happened, especially when the police jump out immediately and say it was a suicide, yeah. I'm not going to trust that. I'm not going to trust Mississippi police when Mississippi police have a history of covering up the crimes of black people, or against black people, I should say. They have no problem framing a black person, but yeah, no, it's not hypocrisy in the least bit, Chad. Wait, someone's saying VD Hertz is MAGA? I mean, VD Hertz is mocking... VD Hertz is mocking of JD whatever. Anyway. Tim, I'm going to have a hard time explaining to my girlfriend that we have to switch to Republican on account of our heterosexuality. Sorry, Tim. Everyone in a heterosexual relationship must be a GOP, right? See, that's the thing. Most political violence, as we've showed on the last episode of Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, That's Right, comes from the right. So why would I assume that the person who committed the act of political violence is on the left when most acts of political violence come from the right? But again, each individual case should be judged on its own merits. When somebody is accused of a crime, that individual should be judged on their own merits. There is nobody accused of a crime at this point. There's just whether or not a crime happened. So yeah, I'm going to assume that it was a lynching until it's shown otherwise because of Mississippi's history of lynchings as a whole. I'm not saying all of Mississippi did it. I'm just saying Mississippi government and Mississippi law enforcement have a troubled past and should not be trusted. Well, no government should be trusted, but Mississippi less so than everybody else, especially when it comes to racial crimes. What else? What else do we want to talk about today? Oh, yeah. Forgot about that. The RFK Jr. Hearings about the firing of Suzanne Monarez. Excuse me. See, from 2010 to 2020, Utah's population grew the most of any other state, totaling 832,000 new citizens. Man, Mormons like to breed, huh? Sorry. New York State grew by the same amount, but it was a smaller percentage since far more people lived in New York State. Yeah, clearly. Hey, what's up, Chucker John? Good to see you. If you haven't subscribed to Chucker John, I'm sure everybody who's watching right now has subscribed to Chucker John, but if you haven't done so, please subscribe to Chucker John. He's awesome. Love watching Chucker John stuff when I can. It's just, sometimes I work and I'm busy. So, I am a bad boy. I've been a bad, bad boy. Chad, the lady today was super credible and confident in her testimony. I believe every word she said. Well, that's good. We're going to go over some of it. We're going to go over some of the questions. Again, because we've got, again, former CDC head Susan Monarez was being questioned today. At least one of the people being questioned today as it pertains to her termination, her firing. and we are going to watch a couple of the Republicans who asked her questions. We don't have enough time, clearly, to go over the entire 3 hours worth of video here. So, but I was watching it while I was doing my work. I had it on in the background, and there were a couple of things that just kind of made my ears go, huh? It was interesting to hear, the fact that, Bill Cassidy was a freaking dumbass, the Republican head of the committee, who he should have known that RFK Jr. was going to be the wrong choice for the job. He should have never agreed to give him his vote, but he was more worried about getting reelected than he was doing the right thing, and he's probably not going to get reelected anyway unless some miracle happens, because he's getting very strong primary challenges from several Republicans, and if nobody hits 50%, there's going to be a runoff, and then there'll be the general election. So, yeah, I don't think Bill Cassidy returns to the Senate next time. Or next year, I should say, at the end of his term. But, he made some interesting points as, him being a hematologist, him being, understanding like things like the hepatitis vaccine and how important it is to get. But here's two examples of people getting questioned by Republicans in the Senate committee here on the Health Committee about the firings.
Go vote, and then we will come back and continue. Dr. Marshall.
Dr. Monarez, despite the president's executive order,
did
you encourage people to work remotely ever?
I did not encourage people to work remotely.
Okay. There were allegations that you took some of the political appointees and you basically took them out of your orbit, out of your office area. Did you reassign office location, desk location for the political appointees?
So I do want to go back to your first question. After the shooting, I allowed staff to work remotely.
Okay, you can give us the details of that later. The second question.
You can give us the details later, because he's probably talking about working remotely because of COVID or whatever, or viruses. But then he's okay. After the shooting, she allowed people to work remotely. So, but let's not worry about the details of what you did. Let's just vilify you for allowing for remote work, because for some reason boomers don't like remote work, because for some reason they're against it. I guess because they can't look over people's shoulder and determine that they're doing the work they're supposed to be doing, when in reality, you determine that they're doing the work they're supposed to be doing by looking at the work product that they produce. Anyway, let's continue.
Did you push political appointees out of your main office area, reassign the political appointees seating?
I brought some political appointees in.
My question is, did you move some out?
So there's a limited number of offices in my.
Did you? I guess a yes or no. Did you move?
I love how they ask questions that are not yes or no, and they expect yes or no, or they make them yes or no when they really shouldn't be yes or no, because the details are important. But I mean, we already know that this senator, doctor, whatever, doesn't believe in the details.
Political appointees out of your main orbit?
And I brought other political appointees in.
Okay, you can give us the details of that later. Do you believe every child?
You can give us the detail later. We don't care about the details now.
Child over the age of 6 months should have a COVID vaccine at least annually.
I believe that is a discussion that a parent needs to have with their pediatrician. And if it is right for that child, based on the risk, then that child should have the opportunity to get the vaccine.
If there's reports come out that show that indeed the COVID vaccination led to the death of children, would that influence your advice?
Certainly would want to know about that.
Okay, the CDC currently recommends between 70 and 80.
And of course, what they're probably using is the VAERS data that basically says, oh, this person had the vaccine and then they died, so therefore it must have been the vaccine that did it. And even though people who die from motorcycle accidents, oh, it must have been COVID, must have been the COVID vaccine, because this is the limited brain power that conservatives have, or at least they hope that their followers have. I'm assuming that he has more brain power than some, at least, because he is a doctor, but still, he hopes that his followers, his supporters, are going to hear what he's saying and be like, oh, well, it must have been COVID. They must have died because of the COVID vaccine, because they died after taking it.
Shots over the child's lifetime. Do you fully support that recommendation that every child needs every vaccine as recommended by the CDC?
The data associated with those recommendations has been validated and vetted. That is the current schedule.
So you agree that you support every child needs every vaccine that's on the CDC recommendations, all 70 to 80 jabs?
Oh, so here's the thing. If you're a doctor and you're referring to them as jabs and referring to all of them as jabs, not just the COVID. I mean, to me, anybody who refers to the COVID vaccine as a jab is illiterate, like medically illiterate. But if you're referring to all 70 or 80 shots that you're getting, including the MMR, including polio, if you're referring to those as jabs too, that's why we're having measles outbreaks. Because these people have taken these people's distrust in one vaccine and have spread it to all vaccines. Well, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. doesn't trust any vaccine either because he said that none are safe. And that's why people are vaccine hesitant, and that's why we're seeing more measles in this country.
The childhood vaccine schedule has been vetted and validated through science and evidence. The almost 20 different diseases that are mitigated through those vaccines are very important. I think that every parent should have the opportunity to talk to their pediatrician and make sure that they understand the benefits and the risks of those vaccines and what is in the best interest of their children.
Do you believe any or all?
And they'll talk. These conservatives, Republicans will talk about parental choice, but when they push for changing the vaccine schedule, which is what they're trying to do tomorrow, although apparently there is insurance groups that are basically saying that they're going to stick with the current schedule of vaccines regardless of what passes tomorrow. And also, I've also seen Senator Cassidy, to his credit, suggest that no recommendations should be approved and should be automatically declined coming out of this committee because of who RFK Jr. has appointed to this committee, and that it's not people who are doing things based on science, but it's doing things based off of political rhetoric. Let's continue.
Those should be mandated?
CDC does not mandate vaccines.
And I heard her say that a lot today because they're insisting that the CDC mandates. No, the CDC is recommending. States can mandate it, as we all saw when Florida said we're not going to mandate any of them anymore because they're a bunch of fucking idiots. At least the government are.
CDC does is provide the evidence associated with the recommendations so that a parent and a physician can make the best determination for them.
When you were considering this job as CDC director, was there ever any doubt in your mind that you could fulfill the mission to work with Secretary Kennedy?
There wasn't. I have worked for political appointees and politicians for almost 20 years. And my experience has been when it comes to critical and important issues like science and medicine, data has always been paramount, and it has always been the core driver to how we work together.
Would you?
And that makes sense, but he won't accept that because he doesn't want to hear about the details, so he'll get the details later.
Agree with me, though, at this point in time that you're not the right person for this job, that your belief system, thinking that her
belief system, that we should follow the data and the science, makes her not correct for the job. That's his question.
Every child needs every vaccine, which is what your CDC does. Every child needs every vaccine, all 70 to 80 of them, is certainly a different mindset than Secretary Kennedy's.
Who says all vaccines are dangerous. There's no safe vaccine, is what Kennedy says. So yeah, she's saying believe the evidence. He's saying trust my brain worm. Trust the guy that swims in raw sewage.
And that if the university president, I think a great sports analogy, I hate to do this, but the university president and the athletic director decide you're not the right coach for this team, then it's probably time to say goodbye and we need a new coach. Would you agree that certainly you're going in a different direction philosophically than Secretary Kennedy is?
So I will stand behind scientific integrity with every decision I ever make. If I am put in a position of having to say, I will cede scientific integrity to retain my job, then I am not the right person for the position.
That is a great answer. I mean, that is just like mic drop, done. Because that's basically what he wants you to do. He wants you to sit there and just agree with Kennedy, regardless of whether or not Kennedy is correct or not. See, a good leader a good person, a good head of the department would sit there and say, I might have my own personal preconceived notions or biases, but if the people below me can show me why I'm wrong, I will change my opinion. I will change my course. Kennedy's not like that. Kennedy has beeline to, we want to say that no vaccines are safe, because that's what he says. He testified to contrary when he was trying to get, affirmed, and Cassidy, like an idiot, believed him. But the brainworm's in charge.
I believe that we must have science and evidence to support the best decisions for our children and others who would benefit from vaccines.
So I think here's the biggest difference in philosophy that I see, is that I think the CDC is the cause of vaccine hesitancy, that you are the problem.
And that is such bullshit. The CDC is the cause of the hesitancy? No, it's the people who deny that vaccines work. It's the people who spread wrong issues about like thimerosal and believing that thimerosal is going to be dangerous. Thimerosal doesn't stay in your body very long. You get more mercury from like a can of tuna than you do from a vaccine. And the mercury from a can of tuna will stay in your body longer than the mercury from the vaccine, because the mercury in a can of tuna is not thimerosal.
That because of COVID and you're forcing these vaccines on people that weren't.
Nobody was forced to take a vaccine according from the CDC. There might have been people who were required to take a vaccine to keep their jobs, but it wasn't the CDC that did it.
Ever really proven or justified that the benefits didn't outweigh the risk, and you all sat there with your hands in your pockets and you let that happen. And then you let this hepatitis vaccine be at 1 day of age, be forced upon everybody. And all of a sudden the moms and the grandmas never.
It's not forced upon everybody. They do a test and they determine whether or not the mother has hepatitis, and if they do, then they give the vaccine. Or if there's a home risk, then they give the vaccine.
Never trust you because you're trying to force a vaccine that's not necessary at day one. If you're going into nursing school, medical school, absolutely you should consider that hepatitis vaccine. But basically what the CDC does is act like a mandate, and you force doctors that don't.
Steve Ward, I think he shares the brainworm like he shares a brain cell. Pretty much.
Agree with you to kick patients out of their clinics because they don't want their child to be exposed to a vaccine that was approved after just like 140 patients took it, being followed up for 5 days. It just makes no sense to me that every person needs.
Makes no sense to me that a doctor would be up there saying this bullshit, but hey.
It's every vaccine, but regardless, some of the vaccines have done incredible work. They are a miracle. They've done a great job. The basic vaccines.
Then you should make sure when you're giving your criticisms as vaccines that you only talk about specific ones and not talk about the 70 to 80 jabs, because the 70 to 80 jabs include those ones like MMR, like polio, etc. You're causing the hesitancy by taking all of the vaccines and lumping them into the ones that you have problems with. And even when you have problems with it, it's not based on science. It's based on conspiracy theories. I wouldn't be surprised if we looked into this person's social media and, saw suggestions that the COVID vaccine puts 5G into your body or some bullshit like that.
That we got in the 60s and 70s, polio, MMR, DTaP, those seem to be great vaccines that have told the test of time. But your attitude here that every person needs every vaccine is completely contrary to Secretary.
No, she literally said that every person should have the ability to have a conversation with their doctor to determine whether or not those vaccines are right for their child. And that the government should empower them with the recommendation list and with all the information and data that they have on these vaccines to say, hey, here's all the information, let's make an informed decision. Which some people are still going to doctor shop, and they're going to pick doctors who are going to justify their vaccine hesitancy or whatever, but the government shouldn't be getting in the way by coming up with crazy cockamamie, ideas over, that vaccines are all not safe, like Captain Brainworm says.
Secretary Kennedy's philosophy and the mission of the president. Thank you.
So, yeah, his philosophy. I think using the term philosophy to describe his beliefs on this is, insane. calling that philosophy is ridiculous. That's not philosophy. That's boneheaded idiocy is what he has. As 250 Kilo says, the inmates have taken over the asylum. Unfortunately, that's true. Now let's go back to the hearing and go to the other video that we're going to look at today. It's not going to be him, obviously.
Thank you. So, thank you so much for being here. And Dr. Monarez, I appreciate your time coming before this committee again. I'd like to go over some time frames first. But first of all, who fired you?
I believe the president fired me.
Okay. Do you serve at the will of the president?
It's Vince McMahon that fired me. You're fired. Anyway, wrestling joke.
Thank you.
And just for the record, the president's removal powers rooted within the Constitution's separation of powers and are necessary to ensure that the executive branch officials are aligned with the administration's policy. This means the president can remove them at any time for any reason or for no reason at all. Would you agree with that?
I would.
For no reason at all, which, or for stupid reasons. The president can, for any reason, for no reason, even if those reasons are dumb.
Okay, so what day was you fired?
I believe I was fired on August 27th.
Okay, what day was the first time you...
So let's do gotcha moments to prove our point. Thank you, Kim Shi, for being a member for 11 months. Thank you for being a Danimal for that long.
You seeked counsel. Not retained, seeked counsel.
I
Would it be sought? Sought counsel instead of seeked? I don't know.
don't recall.
We can get those records, so maybe you should recall them, because I think you might have an honesty issue here that we want to point out.
And here's an honesty issue. So if she misremembers specific dates in the timelines of when she was terminated, when she first went after to go after and try and find counsel versus when she officially retained counsel, like that somehow means she's dishonest because she didn't remember something properly in a list of dates. This is the same kind of bullshit that they do all the time. Just because somebody says something that's not true, it doesn't make them a liar. If they believe it to be true, it's not a lie. It might be a falsehood, but it's not a lie.
So what day was it that you spoke to?
Tell me the day now, woman, is basically what he wants to say. But I mean, because
to the attorneys first time.
It was on or before the day I was fired.
No, that's when you retained them. You already testified to that. When did you speak to them?
Again, it was on or before the day I was fired.
So you retained them the first time you spoke to them?
She didn't say. He's lying. He is lying. Again, every conservative accusation is a confession. He is lying because he's taking her words and manipulating them.
I believe that I retained them the first time I spoke to them.
Was you let go in the middle of the night? Was you let go in the middle of the day?
Was you let go in the middle of the night? Was you let go in the middle of the day? I reckon you might not know what you was you, when you, would you, what you, was you. English is not good. I'm not very good at the English thing. I'm not going to, but even though maybe I sound like my constituents and therefore I'm going to speak like an ignorant idiot.
I believe.
Now, I know the answer to this, so let's be honest.
So then stop asking the question, you dumbass.
Here.
Yeah, 250 Kilo. I do declare. Do you watch Lower Decks?
I believe I received.
Why is this so important to him? Because I got to get you in the gotcha moment because, we got to, if I get you, then we can get your credibility.
Received an email from the White House indicating that my services were no longer needed.
What time was that?
Sometime in the afternoon, sometime in the evening.
Late evening, late afternoon, late evening?
Probably.
And so you got hold of the attorneys late at night?
I'm sorry, what?
You got hold of the attorneys after business hours to retain them?
I mean, there are attorneys that do work after business hours. Usually it's like, trial lawyers dealing with accidents or whatever. But again, what's the point?
I don't recall.
I think you do.
I really
I think you don't recall retaining your attorneys.
She recalls retaining the attorneys. She doesn't recall the specific time of day and date that she first spoke with them and then retained them. As she said, it was on or before, which could mean on.
I don't recall the specific time or day that I returned them.
See, I still think you have an honest issue because it wasn't that long ago. And I think I could recall when I hired an attorney. And I could.
I think I could do it. I would love to be able to. When did you take a dump today? What specific time? Was it before lunch or after lunch? Was it before 2 or after 2? What was in your poo? Was there corn? Like, come on.
Definitely recall the time I did it. Now, let's ask, when did you remove the political appointees from the floor that you work on?
Again, I did not. I moved some political appointees in, and I put my senior advisors together.
When did you remove them and remove their access to your floor? And you had a conversation with the secretary about this. When did that happen? Like how many days into your job?
I'm sorry, I don't even know what you're asking.
Yeah, you do because you're.
Well, I mean, maybe the problem here with this former CDC director is that she probably doesn't even understand, his lingo or whatever, because he's, talking like a simple country folk, I guess, right? I mean, maybe if we had Ficus in there to be a person who, talks between the two, and maybe Ficus could be an interpreter, right?
We already talked about political appointees that the secretary had put in place. You removed the political appointees that was in there when you received.
That were in there? You removed. When did you have an English class? When was the last time you took an English class? That's what she should ask. When did you learn English? Because, no, you don't remember the date? What specific date did you go to English class where you learned that was proper English?
When you first got to your work, when did you remove them from your floor and take away their ability to access your floor? And you know exactly what I'm talking about because you and the secretary spoke about that.
You're miscontextualizing.
No, I'm not. I'm asking the question. What date?
Wait. I have a problem with her words there. Miscontextualizing is probably way too large of a word for him to understand. You need to bring down it to like less multisyllabic words, like, maybe 1 or 2 at the most. 3, if you're pushing it.
Did you remove them?
Miscontextualizing. That's like 7. That's way too many syllables for him.
I moved.
He's from Oklahoma. Yeah, I don't even know, Steve, I don't even know what he's proving. I mean, I don't know. I think what he's trying to do is he's just trying to say, because you can't remember specific dates and times of things that I'm like going to narrow down and, I got you, that somehow she's not credible at all, so therefore you should believe Senator Kennedy on his side of the story. But, I mean, I love her smile. It's just like, not I love her smile and, it's such a pretty smile. I love her smile and it's just, it's basically communicating, you're such a fucking idiot, Rube.
I have 1 political chief of staff. I have 3 political chiefs of staff. I had space made for all of them in my suite.
When did you remove the political appointees or the political hires before you got there? That was there prior to you getting there?
That were there prior to the...
This isn't hard.
Was, S for singular. The political appointee was, political appointees were. It's not that hard, even if you're from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Really, it's not hard. You talk in circles, and I just want an answer. Because you know.
So I had the security of my suite.
Okay. So let me ask you something. Your conversation.
Let me ask you something. I reckon you're not going to answer it in a way that I find that I like because I need to discredit you. But I'm going to ask you something, and I'm going to say, let me tell you what.
With the secretary. Mm-hmm. You said that he said he didn't trust you.
Correct.
You testified to that. Is that really how that conversation went? Because there's other people in the room, and I think the conversation was...
No one else is in the room where it happened, the room where it happened, the room where it happened. No one else is in the room where it happened, the room where it happened, the room where it happened.
Can he trust you? And your answer was?
He said he could not trust me.
No. The answer, ma'am, it was...
I said what it was. And here's a very important thing.
Recorded meeting. So you can testify one way, or you can prove that you're lying or give them and be honest with this committee.
So this senator has access to a recorded meeting. but didn't share it with the rest of the class or the rest of the committee. And that did not make the committee members, especially Cassidy and Sanders, happy about that at all.
I'm giving you the opportunity to be honest here.
Exactly, Trucker John. 100% dead on balls accurate. He reminds me of a bully cop trying to coerce a confession. Exactly. That is 100% accurate. You are right.
Because you've been really walking around the edges and not being truthful. So did he ask you the question, can he trust you? And your answer was?
He told me he could not trust me. And I told him if he could not trust me, he could fire me.
That isn't how that conversation went. And you know that, don't you?
He told me he could not trust me, and I told him if he could not.
Here's the thing. Let's say he did ask the question and she's misremembering it, because I don't remember the specifics of every single conversation that I have with every single person. I mean, Big Hook may very well say that I have an eidetic memory, but there are things that I might misremember about conversations. It doesn't mean that she's lying about everything else. Doesn't mean she's not trustworthy. Doesn't mean she's not a credible witness or a credible testifier, giving credible testimony.
Not trust me, he could fire me.
Ma'am, all we're looking for is you to be honest. And you haven't been. You're not even being.
If she believes it to be true, she's not lying. Again, I guess you don't understand the simplest words have meaning, and when you say somebody's being dishonest, that they're lying, that means that they believe it to be false, but they're saying it anyway. She believes it to be true, therefore might be too big of a word for a rube to be able to understand. Anyway, let's continue.
You're not being honest with the conversation you're having. You're not being honest with the timeline, and you won't even give the answers of who your attorneys were. And all we're looking for is you to be honest. If we're going to have a hearing and we're going to discuss certain things, let's make sure we're talking with someone.
I mean, they've already established before that even though they weren't sworn in, because they didn't swear in Kennedy, and Sanders objected to the idea of requiring them to be sworn in when Kennedy wasn't sworn in and everybody else wasn't sworn in, it still technically is a crime, as Sanders and Cassidy agreed to earlier in the meeting, or earlier before this happened. It's still a crime, or against the law, to lie to Congress. So therefore, she would be violating the rules if she lied to Congress, if she was lying. So, anyway. Yes. His word versus her word. Sorry, not going to trust RFK. Apparently there's a recording. So, come out with the recording. Why don't you play the recording right now? If you know she said it, bring out a little tape recorder and be like, here's what you said. Nope.
That we can trust your answers. It's like my kids. I tell my kids all the time, you know,
don't you tell Ma what Pa was doing in the backyard with the horses. Oh, wait, that's not what he's going to say.
One thing I want from you, I can deal with any situation we walk into as long as I know you're being 100% honest with me. The minute I can't tell you're being honest with me, I can't trust you. From then on, everything you say is questioned.
And that's why we don't, trust the Republican Party. Anyway, I actually tell my kids the same thing too, that honesty is the most important thing that they should have. That if they tell the truth about something, they'll be in less trouble than if they lie about it. But anyway, so maybe I have one thing in common with this hick.
And you have to question you because your personality and your answers aren't correct. Therefore, I yield back.
Senator Markey.
Dr. Monarez, Dr. Howry, I want to thank you.
All right, we're gonna switch this back, turn off the volume, and we're gonna go try and actually find that third part of the with the transcript to try and search for that as well. Let's go ahead and stop the recording right now, real quick, just to we'll continue it in a little bit, just to make sure. Let's bring up the where is this? Where is the frickin' thing? More. There we go. Transcript. And then darn it. bring this up right here. Let's just search recorded. All right, here we go. We'll start back recording this again. All right, so we're going to go listen to Cassidy and talking about the question over whether or not there was an actual recording or not. Let's continue talking about this, shall we?
If HHS has a recording, I asked them to release the recording. I'd also like to know why it was recorded. But releasing the recording would be radical transparency. And this is about fulfilling the president's vision of radical transparency. This is allegiance to President Trump's values. And so I'd ask that that recording be released. I'll also note that we put in a request for any documents or communications that would bring transparency to the situation. We have not yet received those documents. If a recording does not exist, I ask Senator Mullen to retract his line of questions.
Mr. Chairman.
Let me see one more thing. I'll also note that if he has it, I'm also curious why only one senator was given this and why we're just hearing about it now, and why didn't the secretary share it at the Senate Finance Committee? But those are questions that can be answered later. With that, Senator Sanders.
That's exactly the point that I want to make. I mean, how does it happen, if it is true, that one senator has access to an alleged tape recording of a meeting? Nobody else has it, including the chairman. This is what we're dealing with right now. And this is what I think, well, Dr. Monarez, this is a very politicized situation, and it's unfortunate. Thanks.
Senator Kim.
Thank you, Chairman.
So there you go.
Thank you to the two of you for coming on out here. Dr.
There you go. There's both, the lead, the head, or the minority representative, or whatever it's called, clearly they don't trust this whole idea as to whether or not there's a recording, simply because nobody came forward with the fact that there was a recording, and only he has it, right? That's so, that's kind of fishy, isn't it? Isn't it a bit fishy there? Let's see, Let's just go ahead and just scan ahead a smidge. And go back here. And just go back to maybe a few minutes before this. This last part right here.
It is, and I think my concern is, President Trump issued the executive order on gold standard science, and I believe in that. We should have data that you can replicate, that you can understand, and we were put in positions to where I am concerned that the science coming out won't be gold standard science. David Geyer, who the senator or secretary testified, was a contractor, was brought to CDC, and I had the deputy policy chief of staff of HHS come meet with myself and the other three leaders who resigned, Drs. Jernigan, Daskalakis, and Layden. And for 2 days, she sat with us and asked us to grant access to data that has privacy and security concerns to this researcher.
No, I appreciate you raising that, and just what we've seen in terms of how they've talked about this with the VSD, a lot of concerns, and I think there's a lot more this committee needs to do to look into that. Thank you, and I yield back.
And here's the clip you're talking about, Chad, I think.
For the record, it's just been reported that Senator Mullen told reporters that he was mistaken in saying that the RFK Monarez meeting was recorded. But in case he's mistaken that he was mistaken, if there is a recording, it should be released. And it would beg the question of what other conversations were recorded. And I'll repeat what I said earlier. We have sent a request to HHS for records related to these incidences. We've yet to receive those. But, of course, it would help the committee which on both sides has found itself scratching its head, it'd help us kind of discern what the truth is. With that, I go to Senator Alsobrooks.
So there you had Senator Mullins talking all about how we can't believe you. You don't know your date. You don't know the time that you retained your attorney, that you talked to your attorney. You don't know whether or not the Secretary Kennedy said this or that. Did he ask you if he could trust you, or did he say, I can't trust you? You're lying about this. You're lying about this. And then it comes out, the entire thing, that he now reports and admits that there was no recording. Again, every conservative accusation is a confession, especially when it comes to the politicians making those accusations. He spent his entire time trying to convince the entire world, at least the world listening to this entire testimony, that she was somebody that couldn't be trusted. And of all people, Senator Cassidy just confirmed to the world that he is the one that can't be trusted according to his line of thinking. Because to him saying something, somebody saying something that's false means you're a liar. So according to his own standards that he set for himself, that makes him the liar, and none of everything else that he said should be listened or trusted to according to the rules that he set for everybody else. Those rules that he set for everybody else should apply for himself as well. These are the nasty, dirty political games that these folks play. And somehow they manage to stay in power. Having RFK Jr. as the head of the Department of Health is a danger to the people of this country. People are going to die needlessly because of the decisions that he is making and because of the people that he's firing. Because people won't get in line with his crazy notions about vaccines. And these senators who are sitting there, just giving him cover and trying to make these people, these witnesses, look bad, are pathetic. And ironically enough, it's Senator Cassidy that helped to prove how pathetic he really was. Simple as that. They all learned from the Carolyn Levitt School of Distraction. Yes, thank you, Steve. That's perfect. That is correct. All right. I did promise that we would do it. So, call-in number, 562-LIBDAN1, 562-LIBDAN1, 562-542-3261. If you want to call in, if you want to comment, if you want to talk about how dumb Senator Mullins was or whatever, you want to talk about how funny my commentary on Senator Mullins was, if you're a conservative that wants to disprove anything I said, go ahead and call in. 562-LIBDAN1. 562-542-3261. So, hey, Bicycle Mike, it's good to see you. Thank you for joining. I hope everything is going well with you. Finally home from the hospital. It's very good to hear. I hope things are doing well. And Chad goes, she was quite literally the definition of credible. You don't see it like that very often. And look, kudos to you. Thank you, Chad, for reminding us that we had that additional part, because I think I might have missed that particular part where they showed that Mullins is being an idiot about the recordings. So thank you for letting us know that, so I could go find it real quick and we can include that in the recording that I'm going to upload about this either later tonight or have it go live tomorrow. But yes, so thank you for that. Appreciate that. Bicycle Mike, no chemo, just a pick line. Well, that's even better to hear. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for letting us know that too. And so hopefully everything's, going well for you and going better for you. She was great, and she is 50. What is her being 50 having to do with anything? I saw a bunch of numbers popping up earlier in her chat. I don't even know what that was about either. But yes, Kimchi, absolutely dead on balls accurate too. Weak little boys are terrified of strong women. It is their kryptonite. 100% exactly true. So I watched the whole thing today, whether or not you guys like it or not, try and stay intellectually honest. And I appreciate that. Wow, Bicycle Mike, 12 tumors removed. I would do the Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's not a tumor, but I guess they were tumors and they were 12. So, her age was being guessed. Well, here's the thing, though. It's weird. Like, have you ever watched, like, Golden Girls? Like, I love Golden Girls. All 5 of my pets are named after Golden Girls characters. I love Golden Girls. So, here's the thing. Like, if you look at the age of how old the people were in Golden Girls and versus, you know, people who are that age today, it's like the people in Golden Girls look 20, and let's not count Sophia, because Sophia was actually the youngest actress of the 4. Even though she was playing the oldest character of the 4, she was the youngest actress of the 4, which turned out being great because when you had flashback scenes, you could still use the same actress to play Sophia. Back in the day, you just remove the gray-haired wig and have her regular old hair. But yeah, you look at the age of what, you know, they look like. I forget how old they were when they started Golden Girls, but you look at the same people's ages now. Like, you compare, like, you know, what Wilford Brimley looked like in Cocoon versus Tom Cruise and Paul Rudd. The difference is astounding how well people age today. I mean, I'm not going to say that I look like a spring chicken, but, you know, I don't necessarily think I look like I'm almost 50 either. So, but there are probably other people that even look better than I do as well. I mean, maybe I do. Maybe the gray hair helps. Maybe if I blackened up my hair a little bit, I'd look younger. Chad, I guess 53 now. I feel like well, I mean, give or take, whatever. You could feel like an asshole for other reasons, Chad. Sorry. Appreciate you, Big Hook, for giving other people the opportunity to call in first. But if you want to call in, go right ahead and call in. That's fine. We'll probably take 1 or 2 calls, maybe 1, depending on how long Big Hook takes. I mean, Big Hook likes to filibuster, but I like Big Hook's filibusters, so I appreciate, you know, the content that he does provide to the show. Let's go ahead and close all of these winders because we don't need them anymore. I think we've discussed everything. Oh, the one thing before, I guess, while we're deciding who's going to call in, anybody hear about Publishers Clearinghouse? Just a little zany thing. Publishers Clearinghouse has declared bankruptcy, and they sold, like, I guess they sold off some of their assets to another company who's going to do something else. But that other company has basically said that we're not going to be responsible for any of the prizes that were promised before, like, June or July 15th or something like that. Which means that there are people who are promised lifetime funds. They are promised lifetime money, and those people getting lifetime funds are no longer going to get those lifetime funds, you know, get paid, you know, $2,000 a week or whatever for the rest of your life. They now have made decisions based off of that and now are no longer going to get their money. So, which is one of the amazing things about how capitalism works, because if one company takes over for another company, they're no longer required for the debts that are incurred by that company, and people get screwed. Anyway, hey, Big Hook, good to hear from you. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, boy, I don't know where you guys are going anymore these days. Everybody seems to be taking the bully pulpit and trying to lie their asses off and misconstrue stuff. I mean, if Republicans don't believe in medicine, then don't use it. Yep. In fact, volunteer to give up your fully funded lifetime medical benefits and give them to somebody else who wants them. You know, yep. That's the way I look at it right now. If they really want to put their money where their mouth is, then prove it by giving up your privilege and giving it to someone else. Because this is the kind of nonsense that gets people killed right, left, and center, and, you know, hurts everyone in the long run. I mean, it's just disgusting, and it's using politics in the worst form possible that should never happen, especially when you're talking about people who protect those who can't protect themselves. You know, as I said in the comments, that guy is probably also against vitamin K injections in newborns because it protects them from brain bleeds, you know, that sort of stuff. It's just, these people don't understand shit, and they're practicing medicine without a license. And it's like, what are you going to do with that?
Well, I think the first one that we looked at was actually a doctor, shockingly enough, which is even worse. They said he should have his license removed for all the bullshit he was spreading over there. But anyway, let's continue.
Well, I mean, I don't know what to say anymore because, like, Trump is sending in troops as well as ICE into Democratic cities, and it's without their permission, you know?
Yep.
And then I mean, they should have a say in as to who's allowed to operate within their own state, and ICE technically should not be allowed to operate within their state if they don't want them there. You know,
I mean, unfortunately,
unless they have a criminal warrant signed off by a judge that specifically names this said person to be removed, everyone else is off the list, and they can't go any further than what is actually within the law and within their mandate, because this other stuff that they're doing right now is horse shit.
Unfortunately, we have Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry, who has basically said, we welcome you to come into several Louisiana cities and send the troops in and terrorize the populace and whatever. And wasn't there did they went into Memphis or whatever? Didn't someone steal a tank from what I heard? Like, didn't one of their tanks get stolen or whatever?
I don't know, honestly. I slept in today and literally woke up just as your show started, so I have no idea.
Apparently
was news to me that
apparently somebody said it had a TikTok video on it, and apparently it's not correct. So, anyway, but it would have been funny if it did happen.
It was a shock to me that Kimmel got canceled. You know, I mean,
yeah,
this is beyond, anything that's out there, because, first it was Colbert, and Trump said, "Oh, I'm going after Kimmel next. He's on my list of people to cancel." And if ABC does not do the right thing and step up and defend him, this is going to be the end of mainstream media.
Yep.
Because if you cancel the comedians, then it's essentially the same thing as censoring the news. Because, and free speech will be an afterthought. It won't exist anymore. This stuff has come to, whatever Trump says goes, I mean, it doesn't get any more authoritarian.
Like, Trump's over in Great Britain right now and, being a coward because he won't let people, say, not nice things to him or whatever. But the conservatives are frequently on, like, conservative talk radio talking about how they don't have free speech in England anymore. But are we going to have it here if you can't say what Kimmel said? Like, and that gets you removed because they're afraid of, the repercussions that Trump might do and send the FCC after him? It's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit that, again, hypocrisy is a conservative prerequisite. And, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face.
Well, that's just it, right? I mean, they don't care anymore. They're proven liars. They're professional bullshit artists who basically go and block any legislation that actually helps the people. And the fact that people are willing and to give up their rights and give up their benefits for these stupid people who claim to be, Christian, and I have a conservative point of view, which is basically I have a cruelty, Darwinistic survival of the fittest view of the world and how people should operate. I mean, these guys, and let's face it, they're all in it. These guys are all in it for the money and the benefits. It has nothing to do. They crave the power to be able to make sure that their people suffer. So basically, they're like the slave master with the whip, whipping the people into submission, And I mean, this is just it. And you have so many of these shitheads that go along with that thinking and mode of operation. I mean,
and the media absolutely does not need it and any help from Trump or whatever to make themselves not trustworthy. I mean, they've already been doing that by not challenging Trump, by basically saying well, we don't want to talk too meanly about him because we don't want to lose access. They don't need any help making themselves be any less relevant. They're doing a good enough job of it by themselves, but by not standing. But every time they refuse to stand firm and stand up to the administration is another time that he gains more power, they gain less power, and they lose more credibility. So,
well, here's the thing. The rate it's going, if Fox is not held to the same standard that they just held Kimmel to, then the FCC needs to stop operating. Because, Killmeade and Waters both, incited violence.
Yep.
And said it was okay. And, neither of them really truly apologized, and neither was punished with a fine or a penalty for what they said.
Right. What Killmeade said was 11 billion times worse than what Kimmel said. And what Kimmel said wasn't even bad. Like, I can't see, I don't understand why what Kimmel said was such a horrible thing. I don't understand why that is being taken to the levels of, oh, they were cheering. I don't. It's
because Stephen Miller obviously went and said to Trump, "Oh, here's your chance. We take him out and we misconstrue it. If nothing else, we silence him for a month or two, and take the heat off of you." And then that puts the spotlight on Colbert, who could then have the same thing pulled on him, as well as Seth Meyers and Jimmy Fallon.
Right.
And then the next question will be is, how does he get to John Oliver for revealing the truth? Because that'll be under, another private corporation, I mean, what do you do with it? I mean, you guys are sliding into a horrible place where I don't know what your future is going to be. I mean,
it's definitely not bright. I'm not wearing shades. That's for damn sure.
The funny part is you know what? I've been saying to Andrea, I said, you realize with your medical qualifications, I said, you could easily get a job up here in Canada. And now every time I talk to her within the Stephanie Miller chat, she says, yep, work on it, Derek. Sorry, I let my name slip.
I knew it, but I wasn't going to say it. But there you go.
Okay. All right. Well, the big secret is out. Big Hook's first game is. Yeah. God. Yeah. Oh, well, so much for anonymity. But
don't worry. The dozens of people who listen to the show aren't going to rat you out.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think not.
When I become
I've already
huge,
given them all the other information. I've told them I live in Vancouver and all the rest of it. So it's not like I'm going to be hard to find, if anything.
When I become huge and people start looking at old episodes of Liberal Dan Radio, they'll be like, "Oh, Big Hook's name is Derek." Oh,
dear Lord. Yeah, no. I really am worried because at this point, the Democrats need to, within every blue state, gerrymander the hell out of it, because at this point we know that the Republicans have decided that they're going, all-out attack and to try to hold on to power at this point within the midterms, because they know that if they lose the Congress and the Senate, Trump is effectively a lame duck president from that point on, and it won't matter how many executive orders he signs; they won't be worth the paper they're written on.
The sad thing is that with the way that we gerrymander here, there's not much left to gerrymander. I mean, you got Florida will do some or whatever. California's going to do its deal. Maryland really can't do much. They might be able to add one. I don't know how much Illinois could add in. I mean, there's not a lot that could be done gerrymandering wise because everyone has pretty much done it already. And the problem with that is that by doing so, all we end up doing is electing extremists. We're getting more. Everyone complains about. Even J.D. Vance talked about the extremists on his side in his bullshit gaslighting session on what used to be Charlie Kirk's show. But you by gerrymandering all this stuff, you're just getting more and more extremists and less people who are, common sense individuals, which there's no such thing as common sense anymore anyway. But anyway, go on.
Well, this is the worry of mine, which is that you're just basically going to have one media state channel now. It'll be Fox, or
Real America's
Fox
Voice,
and News
or
and Newsmax.
Yeah,
one
of those bullshit
I mean
things.
this is a thing, and what do you do with that? Because that would mean effectively all programming would be canceled. Right. I mean, all the favorite TV shows, all the things that people use as a distraction from their daily struggle will be gone. I don't know. I mean, you look at Orban, in Hungary, pulling all that stuff, and I mean, that place is. I wouldn't want to live in Hungary at all. God, everything is dictated to you directly from Orban. Orban has final say over anything that's put out in the media. I mean, and in order to be in opposition to him, you have to be in the underground, and and you make demonstrations. I mean, what was it? He said, you can't have a gay pride parade.
Right.
And they had the largest turnout ever in Hungary for any demonstration. I mean, these guys are horrible. And Trump is I'm an aspiring wannabe dictator, and people are in the MAGA camp are all right with this. Are you shitting me? These are the same people that are like, I have free speech. I'm allowed to say hateful shit about people right, left, and center. I have the right to be an asshole. And you have to respect the right that I'm an asshole. And it's like, for what?
Right. Exactly.
And they don't even comprehend that the stupid shit that they're saying is stupid. I don't know. I really don't know. I really worry about where this is going, because at this point, like I said, I think the Democrats need to gerrymander every single thing that they possibly can. And then the other thing is withhold all federal taxes and say, well, if you're not going to fund us, I guess we have to fund ourselves. And if that means that we don't fund you anymore, and start the part of the secession and say, okay, well, let's get a state compact group of blue states together and decide how we're going to try and then come up with a statement of how they want to divide the country and say we are going to separate from the United States, and we're not going to play this game anymore because the government is supposed to represent everybody. It's not supposed to represent only certain people that agree with Trump.
Right.
I mean, Marjorie MTG there said it herself. Oh, I want a divorce. I want a national divorce. Well, you know what? She may get her wish. If anything, I think you should do it and show her that how stupid she is, pushing all the horse shit that she does all the time, and the consequences for her state. I mean, you look at that Hyundai plant thing there. I mean, all the billions of dollars of investment and jobs are gone now.
Right.
And and all what was it? They were saying that was going to be 8,000 jobs in Georgia,
right,
that are now on the chopping block now. And Korea, if they still want to do it, they have to actually find people who are just as qualified as the ones that he jailed, who are willing to go back. And
of course, the conservatives' justification of it is, the people who they were dilly-dallying, trying to keep, trying to keep the people who were here longer than what it should have been here, whatever. If you really want to have you know, I mean, this is what Trump wanted. Trump wanted the plant. Trump wanted the manufacturing to be here, and then his own organization. That's just goes to show you how just stupid Donald Trump is. But you know,
well, this
he's
is
not a
just
good
it. I mean,
business
they
person.
said they said the plant is on hold indefinitely.
Yep.
You know, and that's the thing, and not to mention the fact that Trump had his own finger in it, because of course that's for EV technology, which means that it's battery technology, which he is completely against.
Right.
You know, he's all oil and gas. You know, not to mention the fact that, I mean, he took a $2 billion bribe from UAE, who has close ties to China, who will probably give up all those wonderful AI chips to China, so that way they can do whatever, you know. But I mean, you know my feelings on AI. AI is a load of crap. You know, it doesn't do any of what it promises to, and it's being used and abused in every way it possibly can. I mean, they're racing to find out all the horrible things it can be used to do, as opposed to all the good things it could be used for.
Right.
If anything, it should have remained in a scientist's domain, where it was only allowed to be used for the good. Because there was nothing wrong with Google. Google worked fine. Google had a fact-checking panel who decided what was allowed to be on the Google results.
Right.
And it also had sources and everything else so that you could fact check it. And it's harder than hell to fact check anything that AI does, because it'll say, oh, I took this from 1,000 different sources. That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't give me any lack of hesitation to believe anything that AI says anymore.
Right. Well,
you know?
Typically, when I look at AI results, when I do a search result, it's almost like I'm looking almost like how I used to use Wikipedia. Like, you know, Wikipedia being, you know, edited by people, I'd be like, okay, well, here's the links that I can go look up the actual information for myself, instead of basically. So sometimes when I use AI to search for something, I'll be like, okay, here it is. Now let's look at the links and verify that what I found is true. And sometimes it's been useful. Like, I was able to, you know, get the actual an accurate count of. Like, I was trying to see how many states voted for another Democrat statewide that didn't vote for Harris, and it turned out that it was more than enough to flip the vote for Harris if they would have just voted all blue. That being said, there's been other times where I've looked up something and gotten an AI result that's just like, this is complete bullshit, and I knew it was complete bullshit, and I had to re-ask the question, I guess, in a different way. But not all people are going to actually understand that when the results seem fishy or not, and then go do some more deep diving. So to rely on AI for anything investigative is problematic. Plus all the other, I mean, look, it helps me make good songs. If that's all it was used for, then fine. But, you know, there are definitely people who are going to be misusing it, and there are definitely people who are going to not know how to use it, and as such, it's going to make things potentially even more dangerous, because they're not going to even bother fact-checking what they get, because it's still in its infancy. It's like trusting a 3-year-old to give you a dissertation.
Yeah, but this is a thing, though, right? They're giving us a taste of it so that way we get addicted to it, and then eventually it's going to be a pay model, you know? And we had Google for free before.
Well, it still is a pay
and
model.
To be honest with you, I would take...
In order to use ChatGPT
I want an option to be able to opt out of AI stuff within my searches on my phone, you know? I don't really want an AI overview on every single search result I get. You know, I want what we had before, because that was far more trustworthy, and nobody asked for this other thing, because the computing power that is being utilized to give you that AI thing is astronomical. And if anything, it's basically us contributing to the destruction of the environment, as well as the resources that we have in short supply already. And this is where,
especially because they won't let us use green energy, or they won't invest in green energy too. So
Exactly. Not to mention the fact that the tech bros are passing on the cost to us because it means increased electricity rates for everyone else to supplement them for an unproven product that has shown no extra value to what we currently had before. And that's just it. I think AI, if it was going to be used, it should be within the scientist's domain and at their behest, and the rest of it should be left out because there's no justification for it otherwise, other than as a play toy. You know, it's like video games. You know, yes, they're pleasurable and everything else, but I mean, at this point, what is it? You don't even own your own video game, for crying out loud. You pay money to not own anything. Same thing with your computer and your phone. I mean, where is this going? Because if they own everything as proprietary property and everything else, then what's the point? I mean, unless you make your own, I mean, who's got a couple $1 million lying around to make your own?
Right.
You know, like, I don't know. The world does not make sense to me to any great degree right now. I mean, we seem to be headed towards, you know, we're like speeding down a hill towards a building that's on fire and wondering, you know, what to do next.
Steve Ward asked in the chat, where's all the heat generated by these AI centers going to go? Honestly enough, they could probably use the heat to, you know, manufacture like other alternative fuels too. Like if you use like the heat to develop algae and you could have made like biodiesel with the algae that you're using from the heat.
Yeah, that's a fake.
That would be too smart. That would be too smart.
That fruition was debunked because it's the same thing. The petrochemical companies claim that they're looking into alternative sources of energy, and they aren't. You know, I mean, I've seen some things that are encouraging, like what was it? The one that the red onion coating, the outer coating apparently can be used to be incorporated in solar cells, as opposed to the petrochemical plastics that are used to protect solar cells. And apparently, you know, it doesn't biodegrade, and it's far less harmful in terms of what it does to the environment, as well as the use of petrochemicals to produce it.
Well, we don't want that.
I mean,
right? We don't want that. We need to keep the old power so we can, you know, those people continue making their money and yada yada yada. You know, it's
well,
you know,
this is the
who cares
thing.
what happens to the environment? We're gonna get the Jetsons and the Flintstones at some point, right? All the rich people will live in the sky, and all the peons will be down in the Stone Age because they've destroyed the entire, you know, planet.
Well, let's send them all to space and say, if you want to be on Mars, go the fuck to Mars and go do it already. Leave us the fuck alone and let us manage our resources here responsibly and get the planet in working order where everybody has what they need.
I'd say send them to Uranus, but that would be too many people with Jeff, so sorry.
Yeah, well, but the thing is here's the thing that gets me, okay? I keep talking about it. The Scandinavian model seems to be the one that works the best, you know, and this American thing of, oh, we have to reinvent the wheel and blah, 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 and, you know, and they talk so highly about transparency. The Scandinavian model is the only one that fulfills all those things that they say need to happen. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I mean, natural resources there go into the public coffer to fund the social services that everybody uses within the country. And as a result, they're going to be able to retire at 65 and live a good life. They also have free medical. They have free education. They have subsidized housing. You know, everything that they need is there because the government says what's within the country should benefit the people that live in the country, as opposed to, oh, greedy corporations and this and that and the other thing. And yes, you pay high taxes. Oh, the bloody taxes. Oh, it's awful.
Right.
And it's like, what's awful about it? You guys have everything that you need to live a happy life. Right? That's such a horseshit argument that, you know, Republicans keep touting, oh, but lower taxes mean you'll have more in your pocket. No, it doesn't.
Nope. Lower taxes means the
horseshit is
wealthy.
this?
The wealthy have more in their pocket. The amount of taxes that us peons save by the tax cuts are ridiculously less, and we would be much more benefited by robust social structures like, you know, having Medicare for all and, you know, high-speed rail to get us across the country and other good stuff that are for the public good. So.
Well, I mean, like the rest of the world got rid of when we realized that lead was doing so much harm, whether it be in gasoline or in paint or anything else. And the U.S. was the one that held on to using lead the longest. And they're still using it, for crying out loud. You know, like, you can't fix this stupidity that keeps going on because it's all based on greed and, you know, not believing in science and not believing in results. I mean, what did it take to get them to believe that lead wasn't in the atmosphere until we started producing it in industry and in cars and in gasoline? And what did it take? It took a big ice boring hole that took samples and revealed that no, lead was not in the atmosphere for a long time, and that it was whatever, and that, you know, and, you know, I mean, the extent you have to go to prove these idiots who basically tell you lies based on greed is, you know, it's horrible. You know, I mean, greed is one of the worst sins of all because, you know, it benefits the very, very few and hurts the masses in general, you know. And responsible government is supposed to make sure that greed is not to the point where it is in Bezos and Zuckerberg's level, and that the you know, that money is used within society. You know, they should be taxed at the FDR rate of 90%. You know, they got more money than they can possibly spend in 100 lifetimes at this point. So all that money is sitting there doing nothing, you know, and then they want us to subsidize AI on top of that for them.
Yeah.
Because they don't have enough money. I mean, talk about horse shit. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know.
There are definitely things that we should subsidize with the government, like, you know, vaccines and medicines that'll be good for the public. And of course, then if we subsidize it, then it shouldn't be priced at a ridiculously high price either if we're subsidizing it. So, but, you know, it's subsidizing AI isn't necessarily something that I'm going to say is something that the government should. Although the government did start off the internet with the ARPANET or whatever, and that was that what we have now today is thanks to the government, and I guess also Al Gore, right? But
yeah, but you guys can't even distribute it to the point where it's you know, affordable. I mean, Trump is basically canceling all the high-speed internet projects that Joe Biden put into place. And now Trump is going around claiming that the infrastructure projects that Biden put into place are because of him.
Right.
You know, like, where does this end? The lies, the deceit, you know, it just doesn't end. I don't know. I don't know. Dan, I wish you the best, man, but you guys are, you know, literally on your doorstep stamping out a flaming bag of poop, you know? And it's going to be the messiest affair to clean up, and there's no guarantee that that's going to fix the problem either, you know? I don't know. I'll let someone else scream at you with their rants and raves if they want to.
I'm probably going to end the show soon anyway, just because I feel I have to take some more cough medicine. But anyway, but thank you for calling. Appreciate your call. Always like having you on, and it's good for us to hear what external folks of the country feel about us, simply because of the fact that sometimes we're not very good at introspection. I mean, most of the people that watch the show know that we're heading to hell in a handbasket, not hell in a Montana either. But other people need to know that the danger that we are causing for the rest of the world and not just ourselves. So.
Well, as Colbert says, he says sometimes you don't realize what you truly love is until you lose it.
Yep.
Exactly. And that's it.
He was so unsuccessful, but he won the Emmy. So I'm sure that's a liberal plot too, right?
I'm curious as to what Colbert and what Seth Meyers have to say about the cancellation of Kimmel now.
I'm sure it'll be
I
good.
think that the outrage means that it'll be short-lived anyway, because I'll bet you people will say this is horseshit. If that's the case, then end the FCC and these bullshit rules where the words of Carl, were basically, the forbidden words that you're not allowed to say because some fake pastor in Mississippi was offended because he doesn't know how to operate an on-off button or change the channel.
Yep.
Man, it's just insane.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for calling in. Appreciate you. Have a good rest of your night.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Hope you're doing better. It's discouraging, I know.
Yeah.
Anyway, we up here in Canada love you and hope you come to your senses.
We do. Me too, my friend. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye. All right, that was Big Hook, and we are probably going to go ahead and end the show shortly anyway, but I do want to thank everybody. 250 Kilo Ohm says, thanks, Big Hook. I want to thank everybody for listening, watching, etc. It's funny with the whole joke about the 51st state, and I was like, I was able to convince Jeff, the conservative talk show host I listen to, that having Canada be the 51st state was a bad idea, and I was like, yes, let's do it, because then we'll be guaranteed to have a Democratic president from now till ever. And he was like, oh, that's really a bad idea. Let's not do it. I'm like, there you go. So the logic of Liberal Dan Radio maybe saved Canada. Who knows? Anyway, so thank y'all very much. Appreciate y'all. We will be, unless something, I don't anticipate having to come on tomorrow night from whatever it is that the vaccine panel does or whatever. If I do anything, it might be a short video that I upload to YouTube or whatever. Do have some, only thing I might do tomorrow is I might spend tomorrow night working on uploading the videos from today. So anyway, thank everybody again for watching. Remember, the sword at liberaldanradio.com is the link to get to shirts. You can get the Al Gore Needs More Rhythm shirt. You can get the FDT shirt that's up there as well. You can check those two designs out. Again, remember, the reason Al Gore Needs More Rhythm is because you have to help the algorithm out, and all the code on the internet is based on an Al Gore rhythm. Anyway, loved your joke, by the way, Kimchi in the chat. Dad jokes are rad jokes and can be told by anybody. Remember, go, just take a few seconds out of your day to just go like, comment, share other videos that are posted to the channel. Thank you very much, so much for gifting, anonymous gifter gifted Orvilleby a subscription. So thank you so much for the subscription, anonymous person, and thankfully it's somebody who watches normally that gets it as well. So thank you so much, Orvilleby, or thank you so much for giving Orvilleby the subscription over there on Twitch. Anyway, appreciate everybody. Have a great one. Again, if nothing huge happens before Monday, we will be back Monday, same bad time, same bat channel. Till then, share videos. Again, share the Spotify playlist, which now has 4 songs, which I'm sure we will all play. We'll play all the songs going out of the show. Until next time, have a great one. Peace.
Gather round, everyone, and I'll tell you a tale about an orange-faced buffoon who should be in a jail. When people say he's done something that goes beyond the pale, he will shake his head and give this answer without fail. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, he says he tells no lies and that he never jokes. Confronting with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax. A modern Don Quixote, he hates the windmills, claiming to protect the birds and whales he says they kill. But don't believe that story, it's really just a shill. He just did not want to see them wild golfing on Scottish hills. A hoax, he said it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, changing a storm path with black marker strokes. Confronted with the truth, to say it's all a hoax. Casting mail-in ballots is something that he's done. Now he wants to ban them for each and every one. He claims it's for integrity in each election, but he won't believe the results unless it's him that's won. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, they'll fool you with distractions like real sugar in Cokes. Confronting with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax. He promised to release all the Epstein files that caused all the MAGA base to react with smiles. But how long has he put it off? It sure has been a while, and now he's calling this a hoax, protecting pedophiles. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, he'll keep on gaslighting up until he croaks. Confronted with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax. They wrote it in the laws, ink still bleeds, treating women like soil, just planting seeds. She's gone, brain dead, not even awake, but the state's got a claim, gonna plant its stake. Say it's God's will, say it's life they protect, but they ain't the ones feeling pain or neglect. From Texas to Georgia, they set the trap, rights rolled back while they smile and clap. Gilead's here, this is true. Hey, MAGA fools, they'll come for you too. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. This ain't pro-life, it's control and shame. They don't care if she's gone, just playing a game. Keep her hooked to machines, cold and still, just a vessel to them, not a human with will. No consent, no voice, no chance to resist. Just laws in place, written with a clenched fist. Hospitals scared, judges playing God. Bodies ain't temples, just stay on pods. Gilead's here, this is true. Hey, MAGA fools, they'll come for you too. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. Bands in the dark, they don't care who it kills. Sacking courts while they strip out all of your wills. But we'll fight back, march loud, burn bright. Cause this ain't the end, it's the start of the fight. Gilead's here, ain't no grace. And those leopards are coming to eat your face. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. Not gonna be a baby incubator. Not gonna be a baby incubator. pictures got hidden, obscuring the past, history rewritten. Hung in a hallway where no door can see, confirming his unending fragility. If Trump can't see it, you must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. Object permanent, a milestone missed. If Trump can't see it, he must not exist. Stop the testing was the line that he said. Hundreds of thousands needlessly dead. Now HHS is run by brainworm quack, hiding the truth behind his back. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. An administration run by narcissists. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Of documents stacked floor to the wall, top secret folders in a bathroom stall. Charges were pressed but the case was dropped. A corrupt judicial system he can co-opt. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. He'll swear it's fake news, a liberal twist. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Encampments downtown, tents lining the street. Invisible people that power won't beat. Hide them away so the cameras can't find it. Proof of a system that's cold and unkind. Of chaos in secret and NDA sign. An illegal bribe, Michael Cohen fine. Trump got fined too over his gag order, but she didn't gag cause he was much shorter. It must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. We can't let him win, we must resist. If